Welcome to step 1 of your inquiry project and presentation, which is a unit for grade 12 transactional English 40S. Your first step and what we're going to cover today is an introduction to the 6 steps of the inquiry process, and then we're going to walk you through the first part of your assignment, or stage 1, which is choosing your topic. The I project is a research project, essentially, where you get to inquire about something that you are interested in. So you're going to find a topic where you likely know a little bit about it, and then you're going to go and research it. There are 6 stages of inquiry that start with 1, task definition. We're going to go through these 6 stages and talk a little bit briefly about them, and then we're going to focus on stage 1 and what you need to do for that. So stage 1 is task definition. This is where you find out, what do you want to know more about? Are you into cars? Are you into understanding different illnesses? Do you have a healthcare focus? What are you really interested in? You establish the purpose and the need for the inquiry. And I want you to think a little bit beyond just, I'm doing this for a research project for English. I want you to really think about an audience who would benefit from learning about this, or who would be interested in learning about this. Look at a time frame, and then also the parameters of this assignment, which we'll talk a little bit more in detail about. Stage 2 is planning. Now, likely you're going to be using something you know a little bit about already. So planning is activating, what do you already know about this topic, and what exactly do you want to find out? You need to develop for this project specifically 5 questions to focus on and direct your inquiry. Then you're going to look a little bit at the assessment, at the assessment criteria for the content requirements, and you're going to look a little bit at the process. At the end of this stage, you're producing a proposal that outlines exactly the process that you're going to use. Stage 3 is where you start actually finding your information. So you're going to identify, select, and evaluate information sources. If you took grade 10 English with me, then you would know that there are different kinds of periodicals that are available, with the highest and most reliable being academic resources, and the least one being sensational periodicals like gossip magazines and things like that. So you want to make sure that you are identifying legitimate sources to locate and collect your information. You also want to be aware, and we'll learn about primary and secondary resources. You have to have both kinds of resources, but we'll talk more about that later if you're wondering what that is. Stage 4 is where you start to process that information. So now that you've gathered it and you have this information, what's relevant? What are you going to include? What information maybe are you wondering if that's legitimate or not? If you're wondering, then you probably shouldn't include it in your presentation. It's where you start to organize and categorize and record information, making connections between different parts of it. Stage 5 is creation. This is where you start to create, in this case, a PowerPoint. So you're going to make decisions about your audience, your purpose, and you're going to start to fit these into your final project, a PowerPoint. You're going to revise it, edit it, make sure that all of your stuff follows all the guidelines. And last, stage 6 is your presentation and, of course, the assessment. So your presentation, depending on how you're taking this course, some people prefer to do it live and will come to the center and present it. But if you're unable to do that, then some people choose to record a presentation, which is a great way to be able to do this digitally. So the last thing that you're going to do is a bit of a self-assessment. How do you think you did? So that's a basic overview of the inquiry project. So now let's focus on stage 1. So stage 1 of your inquiry process ends with a brainstorming of ideas, and you are to submit a word web, a mind map, or an outline for 2 to 3 topics you're going to consider doing for your research project. For at least 2 topics, you need to include 5 possible subtopics to research and 1 idea for your primary research, which is usually an interview or a survey. So you do need to share those ideas with me before moving on to stage 2. So I do want you to make sure that you share these mind maps with me so that we can have a conversation about what that research looks like, and what how to prepare for the future and the rest of the project. So the criteria is in this box at the bottom. Your word webs have to be submitted to me. They are assessed, and for grades, you need to make sure that you have at least 2 potential subtopics, five possible subtopics for each one. And then you do need to reflect on whether those topics are too broad or too narrow. Are you going to be able to fill 2 slides of a PowerPoint on each of those subtopics? That's something really important to include. And you'll notice as you go through the research project that often you're wondering, oh man, I could really fill up that, or maybe there's not enough. So that's really important to consider and reflect upon. So that's how you're ending. In here, there is also ideas on choosing topics. So I would read through that in the Inquiry Stage 1 handout. We're going to look quickly at mind mapping as an example here. Here we go. So we've got an example of a mind map. I took this one offline from mindmeister.com. So with mind mapping, you're starting with something in the center, your central idea, and then you are branching ideas off of it. So you notice we've got benefits, planning, creativity, productivity, collaboration, and then things underneath those. So you're going to create a mind map that looks fairly similar, and you do need to have 5 of these branches off of it. And then you're going to start to look at, what do I already know about some of these branches, and what do I need to grow in some of those branches? What questions do I have about some of those areas? So lots of people like to do this on paper. You can do this on paper, take a picture, and you can send it to me or email it to me. Lots of people like to put it in a Google Doc and share it with me, so then I'm able to comment on it and give them some feedback or ideas. We can work collaboratively on that document. Another option, which I'm going to show you right now, is what we call Google Drawings. So it's going to load here. So you'll notice it's under the Google Suite and Google Drive, and you can create a new Google Drawing. So what this allows for you to do is you can insert different sorts of shapes. So let's say my central figure here is going to be a rectangle. So then my main idea goes in here. I can type my main ideas in here, and then I can branch different things off of it as I go. So I won't spend a whole lot of time demonstrating that, but you are able to look at that and play with it a little bit if that's one way where you want to, one way that you want to represent your ideas. So you can have lots of the little subtopics there. We can look at copying and pasting them and moving them around. And then you have your 5 different subtopics. So this is easy because then you can just simply share it. You can share your drawing with me, and I can gain access to your brainstorming without you really having to do much. And I'm still able to comment on that as well. So that's a little bit about stage 1. So get started. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to send me a message.